Hi, good evening. I'm Jonathan Ratner. This is a CareerWise webinar on the importance of internships for young professionals. So let me share my presentation. It's called Free Work, Big Rewards. So you might think, I don't want to work for free. And a lot of people teach you don't get taken advantage of. So you don't want to work for free. But the truth is, a free internship, or even if it's a paid internship, but you'll pay paid minimum wage, there can be great value in it, not to be measured in dollars and cents, but in the career advancement. So that's what we're going to talk about, the power of internships for young professionals. So I go back to the facts of life, the harsh facts of life. There's a great gap between school and work. Whatever educational program you do, whether it's a college program, and it could even be a master's program, or a career, a professional training course, we offer those, let's say in cybersecurity or in AI digital marketing. But whatever educational program you do, and maybe a number of them, there's still a gap when you finish that program and you're certified and you have maybe a diploma, but you're not in the market yet. And something's got to bridge that. And it's possible that recruiters come on campus and they interview, graduating seniors, or that you'll get set up right away with a paid position. That could happen. But let's talk about what if it doesn't, or making plans to step over the gap when you get on the train in New York City. Watch the gap. Don't fall in there. Don't become a statistic. So it's summertime now. A lot of times, summertime is a good time for an internship. It's maybe a little bit late to look for a summer internship for this summer, but an internship is good at any time. And we're going to talk about how and why and what. So in university, you learned a lot of knowledge. In training programs, you focus less on theory, more on skills, on specific tasks and using tools and so forth. But the workplace doesn't want knowledge and it doesn't want just skills. The workplace wants execution. It wants you to get the job done. It wants you to communicate with people on your team. And it wants an air of professionalism. It wants you to behave like a professional. You're not a college kid, okay, or yeshiva bacher or a Beis Yaakov girl. You're a professional. And that's how you carry yourself, how you dress, how you talk, how you send an email, and everything you do. Professionalism is the name of the game. Employers are hiring experience, they're hiring skills, but definitely not just grades or degrees or certificates. Okay. You to be a professional is a meaningful thing that takes a transition from being a student to being a young professional. Okay. And an internship is exactly that. It's the bridge between being a student and being a professional. So your degree or your training certificate can be really important credential to get you into the room, to open the door. On your CV, it may be really important, but it's your experience that's going to get you the job. Okay. And experience can mean an internship. You'll put that on your resume that you worked there, and you don't have to write that it was an internship. You worked there. You got paid maybe zero. That's not important. You worked there, you played a role, you'll describe what you did in your internship, and that's real. Okay. So working in a company as an intern is working in a company. Okay. The work is real. And so the experience is real and very, very valuable. Let's go on. So it's more than free labor, and free labor, I don't know, it sounds like slave labor or something really awful. But the truth is, think about lawyers and doctors. There's a stage of medical school called interning. And the medical students go somewhere to some city to do their internship, and they work really hard. They're sort of abused even. They're paid low and work super hard. The same thing is true, I know, in Israel, and I think also in the US, is that lawyers, after they have completed law school and maybe even the bar, but they need to do stage, they need to do an internship. And again, they work like dogs. They get low money and work really long hours and do a lot of grunt work, a lot of work that nobody else in the law firm wants to do. So the fact you have a fancy degree, I'm a lawyer, I'm a law student, I'm a graduate, whatever, I did great on my tests and so forth, but you're still going to start at a low place on the totem pole, and you're an intern. And so it is what it is. You got to make the best of it and use this time. And I'm talking about a program that doesn't require an internship, but I'm recommending you to do an internship in order to get into the game. Because actually we have a situation in the Haredi community in Israel today with the young women who have studied computers. Every Beis Yaakov girl wants to study machshavim, right? Computers, and then I'll get a good shidduch and so forth. They essentially glutted the market. There's too many young people with this training who are skilled, intelligent, ambitious, and they don't have their first job, and they're not really on their way to getting it. So we're talking today about how to break that barrier, how to take a step forward and get your foot in the door as an intern. And even if it's free internship, it's very, very valuable. So let's talk about it. What do you gain from an internship? So I have a beautiful list here. ChatGPT helped me. You gain clarity. You learn what you like to do and what you don't like to do, which in school you didn't know that because you had to study all the topics and you just got a taste of them. But now that you're like in a working position, you're doing the internship, you're sitting for hours at the desk doing something, you'll say, hey, I hate this. I never should have studied this. Or this is a specific aspect that I don't want to do. Or, oh, wow, I love this. I didn't know that I do. You're going to learn what you like and dislike, okay? The skills that you're going to be using now in the internship are real world tools. You're going to be on the platforms. You're going to be dealing with colleagues. You're going to be faced with deadlines, right? At college, if you turn it in late, you might lose points on your grade, but okay, nicht gefährlich. But in work, a lot of times deadlines are very serious. They're the difference between getting the money and not getting the money. And so at work, people will work late. They will work all night. They'll do whatever they have to do. They'll work over the weekend in order to meet a deadline. So the seriousness of work deadlines is something that you learn in an internship. There's culture, what we call corporate culture, and understanding a work environment, what's okay, what's not okay, eating lunch with your colleagues. Sometimes you're going to be a situation your colleagues are eating treif or something, and how are you going to deal with that? Do you want to be there? Maybe you'll learn you don't want to be there. But just the whole corporate culture thing, office language, how do we speak, and expectations of other people and yourself, and learning about the workplace, how to feel comfortable there. And again, what you do and don't want to do. You might learn from internship, I don't want to do this, or you might think, oh, this is exactly the kind of thing I want to do. You're definitely going to achieve networking, which is building connections that could lead to future jobs. So maybe this company is not going to hire you. They just don't need new people or something, or they only use their interns and then they let them go. But you're going to meet people, clients of the company. Maybe you'll go to trade shows on behalf of the company, and you'll meet other people there. So it's a great opportunity to grow your network. Confidence, okay? You're a young person. This is the first time you're in a professional environment, and it looks sort of big and scary in the adult world. But now you're doing it, okay? And when you pick up the phone, you don't have to say, oh, I'm only an intern. Don't take me seriously, right? You're not supposed to say that. You work here, you're in a law firm, or you're in a computer company, or whatever you're doing. So you learn how to speak so that professionals, to speak to professionals, and how to present yourself, again, with self-confidence and in a professional way. It's for sure super valuable on your resume to have this experience, which is relevant to your career. And again, whether you decide to put it as an internship position, that's one way to present it. Another way is that it was an employment, position, and both are okay. And the main thing, though, is to put what you did there and what you achieved there and skills you acquired. That's the real value. Of course, you'll have a boss, and we're going to talk about making a really good impression and doing a great job. So you'll have that person as a reference in the future, as a testimonial that you're a good, young, ambitious, and competent professional. And this is important. It creates momentum. If you're sitting at home with your degree or your certificate, what's going to get you out there and get you in the door and get your first step towards your job? So internships often lead to paid work. And I'm going to talk about that, anytime you go to a job interview, they might ask you, well, what are you doing now? And if you say, I'm a stay-at-home mom, or I'm a stay-at-home dad, or I'm looking for my first job, or whatever you're saying that's not, I work for so-and-so, it's a little bit awkward. It's points against you, okay? Maybe it shouldn't be that way, but it is, okay? When at a job interview, they ask you, what are you doing right now? are you available to start right away? And you said, yeah, because I'm not doing anything. You don't want to say that. You want to say, I work doing such and such. Okay. So even though that's an internship, again, we're speaking mostly here about free internships, but you're coming from somewhere in the work world, and that makes you relevant. You're in the game, okay? You're working in this office. And so you can talk, how's it going over there? What do you like to do? What don't you like about it? You're a professional, you're an employee. So having an internship is really valuable in the conversation, let's say at a job interview, because it creates real momentum that you're in the game, you're part of the employment world. It's a career accelerator, okay? It's going to add speed to your advancement. There's statistics that show that students who intern are twice as likely to be hired within the first 6 months. A lot of companies, when they're ready to hire somebody, they're going to hire from the people who have interned by then. That's like a no-brainer. Internships lead to better interview stories and job clarity. I was just making that point, that if you have an internship, or even if you had an internship. So in the job interview, and in job interviews on a different webinar, I'll talk about, you talk to different people. Sometimes you talk to an HR person, sometimes you talk to a technical person, sometimes you talk to the big boss, the owner. And so especially if it's, let's say, the technical person or the person who, does the stuff in that business, if you've also done that in an internship, then you could tell your stories. You can relate to what they do and tell what you did and what you know how to do. So it gives you material to share in your interview. It's much easier to find a job when you have a job. And for this purpose, an internship is a job. And that's what I was talking about. So you might say, but how can I get an internship or a free internship or a minimum wage internship? I need money. I did this program to make money, and maybe I borrowed money, or I did a college degree and I'm tens of thousands of dollars in debt. So I got to make money. How can I do a free internship? So it's a good question. Okay, it's okay. It's not anything to be ashamed of that you need. If you need money, that's parnasa, that's legitimate. But it shouldn't be a deal killer. Here's a way, a hybrid, where you'll do a part-time internship and you'll do part-time work, whether you're going to be a waiter or wash floors or whatever you're going to do to make some money, because you need some money, that's okay. But maybe put them together, part-time something that you know how to do that makes you money, but it's not going to be your career. It's not your future. And part-time, this internship that really is going to open up new horizons for you, because that can create a lot of value. So even though right now you're just working part-time, so, it's tough and maybe you have to borrow some money, but in 6 months, a year or two, you're going to be earning much better because of the experience that you gained in your internship. So it actually makes sense financially sometimes. Not every internship is valuable. There could be a bad internship, but there could be, of course, strategic ones. So how can you know? So it's not easy to know. You have to, be skeptical. Why are they hiring me on these terms? What do they want? If they just want me to like clean the office and to go through their files and do meaningless stuff that doesn't really need to be done, like make work for me, that's not a good opportunity. No, thank you. But if you're going to learn stuff, you're going to gain contacts, you're going to be, acquiring new skills, you're going to be doing real work and working on real cases and stuff. So then that's a very, very valuable learning experience that you want to be a part of. Okay, so I've convinced you that an internship is a really good way to break in, and you're like, but how do I find one? Okay, so here's a young woman just sort of sitting there thinking about it. So I start by saying, look everywhere, ask everyone, and then knock on doors literally. I want to say a story. I was in shul in Cleveland, and one guy turned to the other guy before davening started, and he said, my daughter, I don't know, let's say she's studying biology, and she's looking for an internship this summer. Do you know anybody? So he's just putting his feelers out to help his daughter find an internship. And that's a good way. You have to ask everybody, do you know anybody, whatever job it is, whatever field it is, or maybe it doesn't even matter for a young person who's just looking to gain some professional experience. So ask everybody, how would you like to have an intern work for you this summer for free, right? So it's not that hard to make the sale because it doesn't cost any money. It does take effort and management headspace to have an intern. Not everybody wants to have an intern. And if they won't give you attention and they'll ignore you, then it's really not valuable for you either. So you can't force yourself into a business by saying, well, it doesn't cost you, so how could you say no? Or even if you say no, I'm coming anyway. That's obviously not going to work. You have to have a professional environment where there's going to be someone managing you and overseeing your internship in order that it's really a growth experience, okay? But I say knock on doors literally because that is a very effective method, both of getting a job and of finding an internship. To go to an office building, maybe you've made a list of some companies that you're interested in or the field that you want to work in, and you knock on their door and enter and talk to the secretary and say, I'm looking for an internship position. Could I speak with your HR person, or could I speak to the manager? And that, it takes assertiveness, it takes some self-confidence, right, to do that. But if you can do that, if you can present yourself in a professional way, it shows that you're a go-getter and that you are ready to, take risks and to have the door slammed in your face. And maybe some of those doors will be slammed in your face, but maybe tomorrow you'll find someone that's really happy to meet you and says, sure, you can start tomorrow or you could start today. So that takes guts and chutzpah, but it's really a very effective way to find a job or an internship is to literally knock on doors and enter and talk to people. Okay, that just shows that you are not afraid to take challenges, to take the bull by the horns and to really try things, which is a great professional asset and a characteristic that people respect. So think about that. It's not easy. And I don't know if I would do it. My wife definitely has done it, and it's definitely worked for us and created opportunities by knocking on doors. So think about that. Okay. So let's say you got the internship. So now you want to maximize the experience, get the most out of it. So make it count. So here's a funny thing. And I was in a situation like this. I worked in a great little company, sharing Jewish wisdom with the world. And there were some people there who were paid workers, and there's some people there who were interns. So it's a little bit funny that these people are getting paid, let's say $50 an hour, and these people are working for free, okay? And the people who are working for money, like they're very careful. They want to get paid for their overtime, and if they work for partial hours, and the interns are like, but I'm working for free. So it is sort of funny, right? That there's people who are working for money and people working for free. But again, you're doing this free work for big rewards. There's great gains for you. You're not doing it from altruistic reasons. So that is another possibility. And that is like volunteer work in a nonprofit organization. Maybe there's, whether it's a shul, a yeshiva, an old age home, a daycare center, and maybe you're in data analysis or marketing or whatever you do, but these social institutions could use a person like you. They can't afford a person like you, and they maybe would not hire a person without experience, but you can actually bring them great value. So that is valuable for both of you. So that is a way that you're going to go to a small organization that's doing something that you care about, and you are going to be doing it. So it is a combination of altruism, of social benefit that you're trying to provide, as well as professional gain that you're learning to do stuff, okay, sort of on their cheshbon. But the point I want to make here is that employees often have not necessarily a negative attitude, but there's very much dollars and cents, give and take. And yet you're an intern, so you think like there's no take, it's all give. But the whole point of the internship is that you are getting something by what you give. I'm reminded of Ruth Temoaviyah. She's in the field of Boaz, right, collecting the sheaves, right? She's gleaning, and she says to Naomi, this is the guy that I did by him today, okay, that I was working. It's sort of, I did for him, okay, is the Hebrew language there. And Rashi says, more than what the rich guy does for the poor guy by giving them, a kopeck, the poor person does more for the rich person. So there is a symbiotic relationship of the intern giving to the company and the company is giving something to the intern. It's definitely a two-way street. My point here is that as the intern, you want to come with a really good attitude. You are not being taken advantage of. You are not being exploited. That's if you feel that way, I mean, it's possible, and then you should get out of that situation. But your basic attitude towards the internship is, I'm entering this in order to advance my career and to learn stuff and to do stuff. So I'm eager. I am going to be early to work. I'm not punching in on the clock because I don't get paid, but I'm there early and ready to work. I take notes for everything I do because I want to learn as much as I can. So a good attitude, a winning attitude, is a really key component in everything, but especially in an unpaid internship. Ask people for feedback. How am I doing? Did I do a good job on this? Again, it's a learning thing. Ask for a report card, as it were. Build relationships, not just task lists. They're going to tell you do this, that, and the other thing, but you want to talk to people, work with people, gain mentors that can teach you different things. And then, again, it's okay to be assertive. You are providing them with free work. So ask to work on a visible project, okay? Not just cleaning the shelves or all this unsung heroism that you're doing, but something that I'm working on a project that you can quote it and tell people about it, and they'll say, oh, I've heard about that, and I worked on that. So again, even though you had an unpaid position, but you were part of a winning team on a visible project. And then you can publicize that in your LinkedIn or ultimately on your resume. So these are ways to maximize the benefit of your internship. Okay. I hope you learned something today about the great value of an internship for young professionals in order to bridge the gap from education to the beginning of professional life and an entry-level position. You know, all the crazy entry-level positions that require 2 to 3 years of experience. I don't get it. Is it entry level or do you need 2 or 3 years of experience? So there's a lot of stuff like that. And so an internship sort of fixes that you have this experience even though before you have your first job. Anyway, we offer internships and we can help you find one. So feel free to turn to us for guidance. I have our emails here. We have also office@careerwise.info. That's another email. So reach out to us, check out our website. Looking forward to hearing from you. That's la haraba.